Life is a Dance, an art journal tutorial by Creative Katie. That's me, Karen Burchill. Techniques used in this video using Inktense blocks, stencils, stamps, and shading. If you're not a subscriber, hit the button in the lower right-hand corner and subscribe. So I'm working today in my altered book. This is the last page that I did, and you can check out the video on that. So this is my altered book, and I'm working from the front and from the back so that the spine doesn't get twisted. So I've gessoed the page a little bit, and approaching this page I have two thoughts. I want to use my Inktense blocks, and I want to remove the ink or paint through a stencil. So I want to use that technique. So I haven't even picked the colors that I'm going to use, so I often refer to my color swatch. And if you don't have a color swatch of your colors or your pencil crayons, your paints, I suggest you do that because you see the colors and it's easier to pick those colors out and go the route that you want. So I'm going to go in the orange, peach, burgundy tones here. So very easily, I'm just going to color in areas. Now, people ask, how do you know where do you put which color? I don't. I put a little bit here and there. If I don't like it, once it's activated, I can sop it up with a baby wipe and just go from there. You know, as it evolves, I see things and it might take me in another direction. You just kind of respond to what you're seeing and what feels and looks right to you. There was no plan here. So I'm loving these vivid colors here. I'm getting a little bit of drippage holding it and drying. One thing when you use this technique, it gets very wet. So you need to spend a little bit of time making sure that the pages are dry, which is another good reason to use the gesso. So just getting the Inktense, the ink of the Inktense blocks to flow a little bit, and I'm just building up colors where I see it. If I don't like a color, I'm going to add more or different colors and just activate and blend till I'm happy with what I see. So then I have a couple stencils, and I'm just using a wet, fresh baby wipe, putting the stencil down and just rubbing out some of the places. Again, I don't really have a plan here. I'm picking a couple stencils. When I was doing this, I was thinking, you know, it's getting a little bit busy. Maybe I shouldn't have used two stencils. In the end, it looks great. What I want to build up is some interesting visual texture and shading and that kind of stuff. Now, my plan going into this was to use the Dylusions paints at this point, and I kind of took a right turn. So I'm applying my gold, Artist Loft Gold, to my homemade swirl stamp, and there's a video for that making of that stamp, and I'm just pressing the gold swirl all over the page. Thinking the gold is going to look really good with these deep, rich colors. And I'm edging with some black paint at the time. Now, I found this picture in my stash. It was a free printable, and the colors really match the background. But as you can see, the girl gets kind of lost. So what I'm doing here is just adding some interest so there's that separation. And I've got acrylic paint on my cut and dry foam, and I am simply going to shade the edges of the page with the black and shade the edges of the picture. So there is some difference. So I'm going over the edge, and I'm not too careful about making it perfectly perfect, kind of rounding the corners. It's just setting off the colors inside. And I'm using the Dylusions or the blending foam from the Ranger blending foam. So this girl, I put the black on, but it needs more black. So I'm just kind of rubbing it along, getting that shading going on, the smokiness all around the girl. And that's to provide just a difference between the background and my focal point, which is the girl with the hat, because the colors are too much the same. So you need to have some way of making the focal point stand out. So I'm not yet done. I want to add some more, and I have this other stamp, and I am getting out my Dilutions paints here and applying this burgundy. Now I decide that I didn't like it, and I go to wipe it off, but because it's Inktense blocks and I didn't seal it, that would lift off too. So I have to go back to putting the stencil, using the stamp, and putting it all over. Kind of swirls. So again, I'm building what looks to be a very busy background, but it really works. It's kind of Victorian, matching the girl. So I'm kind of putting the focal point there, seeing how I like it. And I have the stamp set from Yvonne, and it has borders, and I've been wanting to use that all summer long. So I have this one, and it just looks like bric-a-brac or kind of edging kind of thing. So I'm going all the way around. To frame the page in yet one more way. I did the shading on the edge of the page in this, and I'm really liking how this turned out. I need some weight to the picture, and the black of the stamping that I'm doing, as well as the smokiness around the edges, really adds that weight. So I'm thinking, how am I going to put this? And I'm getting out my quotes, and I decide to go with the one that says, "Life is a dance. Making it happen and letting it happen." So I have the quote cut out and just trying to position it and get it all right. So then I decide I don't want the white there, that it doesn't look so great. So I decide to take those, glue them down onto a piece of paper, and trace them out with my Posca pen onto deli paper. And this is something that you can do if you like the fonts you can get from your computer, and you can do all the fanciness, and then you can just trace it onto deli paper, which becomes more translucent, and you don't have the white of the copy paper. Here it kind of smudged a little, so I redo the last one and letting it happen. Looking back, I think I should have just used my Micron pen for the smaller print, but it all worked. So I'm being gel medium over first the extra one that I did wrong, to see if the Posca pen smudges or not, and it didn't. So I put a coat over all the sentiments and let them dry. So I have this script stamp, it's old French script, and I decide that I need a little bit of black in the background. I love my script stamp. I am on the hunt for a bigger script or looser script. I think that would look good, especially on a bigger page. And adding some black splatters by thinning out black acrylic paint and just splattering on there. Yvonne and I are doing a Skype create date. She's painting a canvas in her home, and so we're talking and sharing as I'm creating this page. So now I'm cutting out the quote and decide on my final positioning on the page. Now remember, I put a layer of gel medium on top. That kind of sealed in the text. It'll also help to make this more transparent later on. Now I can't put the gel medium straight onto the page because it's Inktense block, and as much as they say it's permanent, it will smear and come up. So I have to be very careful when I'm doing that. I could have sealed it with a spray-on fixative if I had wanted to, but I don't have that with me. but that's how you get around that. Or you just become very careful. And I find that gel medium works better than Mod Podge when you have that kind of background problem, less likely to lift up the background. So just sharpening my Stabilo All pencil. So I'm outlining the girl, and I'm going to add more shading on the outside. And this is going to help make the girl blend with the background. So I'm going all the way around the outside. And I'm rubbing my finger on it to smudge it because I don't want it to be a distinct line. And then I'm going to get water on a paintbrush, a round brush, and go around it. Now again, because I'm working on a surface, the Inktense blocks that are water activated, I can't putz around too much here because I will reactivate it and get it to be wet. So quick and easy. So now I'm going in with the Stabilo All pencil and adding shading on the free printable. Just because you use a free printable doesn't mean that you can't alter it in any way, shape, or form that you want to. So I'm adding some more shading, just again to make it look more like it's mine. So I'm adding some interest, and I really like what happened for the most part with the shading. And you know, I don't know what I'm doing when I'm shading. I look for dark parts, I look for places I want to add highlights to or add more depth, and I just go by instinct. You know, because there's gel medium on it, if I do make a mistake, I can get a baby wipe and lift it up very quickly. Because the girl is sealed with the gel medium. So if you're unsure about what you're doing, have a baby wipe in your hand, make sure the surface is sealed, and then you can do whatever you need to do if you make a mistake or you feel that it didn't work out how you liked it. So there's an awful lot of shading that went in here, and I've sped this video up almost to 8 times throughout because there's a lot of very repetitive kind of things. So now you can see how the girl is really standing out on the background, even though it's the same colors that are being used. I think it's funny because I did not pull this girl out of my stash until I had the background. It wasn't like I started with her in that background. But I'm somewhat limited as to what I have in the way of focal points and things in my stash because I'm not in my home studio. So I'm just taking my Sakura Gold gel pen and outlining the bric-a-brac border that I put in black, and that just, again, it's another layer of gold that goes with the stamp that I put gold in and makes it all work very well together. Getting out the Stabilo All pencil, just outlining the quote and activating. And again, this makes it all work together. I've got the same effect going around the quote as I do for the girl, so it gives it a very nice look. I wish everybody could see this page in real life because the pictures here do not do it justice at all. And it got a little dark because the holiday rental we're in doesn't quite have enough light. So here's finished page. And I really like it. This is totally different from lots of things that I've done. I had to use different techniques and take me in different ways, and I really like it. I hope you do too. Thanks for watching. Be sure to leave a comment and give me a thumbs up.